Hey, everybody. Jimmy's going to join me here in just a second as we got this new intro thing, and I hope you like it. I don't know if you do or don't. We hadn't gotten any feedback on the intro. So I'm going to keep doing it because I saw other people doing the podcast this way. But we're going to talk a lot about recruiting. We're going to talk some basketball, and we're just going to talk some Auburn stuff probably because as the Harsin turns is still happening. And we're going to do all that here in just a minute.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Jimmy, we got the funkiest intro music in America. Hey, everybody, welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
I'm still dancing to that funky intro music. That was awesome. That's a Grammy waiting to happen.
I'm going to tell you something, man. I've now learned to do like the pre-intro thing. I'm trying to block this light with my gigantic melon in the back of me. I'm at a True by Hilton in Albany, New York. Jealous?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. As snowy as hell. And it's funny. I walk downstairs. I go to check in, and the lady's on the phone. She said, "Give me 1 second," which pisses me off because I'm like an elite member. But anyway, she said, "Give me a minute." And I heard the conversation. And when I was driving the rental car up to the hotel, I noticed two people walking down the road. I was like, that's strange. There's like 22 feet of snow on the ground, and it's sleeting, and it's awful. And she was saying, yeah, that was them. Yeah. Okay. Bye. And she hung up and she said, "Well, sorry. We had two people that just walked in here and they just started eating stuff." And they said, "We're with the Jones party." And she said, "We don't have anybody that's a Jones staying at the hotel tonight." She goes, "Jones, look it up." And she goes, "I'm telling you, we don't have that many people staying here tonight and there's no Joneses." And she goes, "Well, I'm pregnant. You can't kick me out." She goes, "Yeah, I'm kicking you out right now. You have to go." And so the lady left, and she was with whoever she was with, and mad. And apparently, she just did the same thing at the Hilton Garden Inn right down the street. I guess she just figures Jones is so regular. People be like, "Oh, it's Jones. Just charge it to Jones. Why not?" What was the one in not in Caddyshack, in Fletch? The
Underhill.
The Underhill.
Put it on Mr. Underhill's card.
Jimmy, why don't we start really quickly? We'll make the first segment kind of quick. There has still been no movement in the Auburn-Harsin situation, and it's getting really weird. Auburn has come out with this very nebulous statement that means nothing. I don't even know what to think anymore. This has gotten so screwed up. I don't see how it could be any better for any rival of Auburn than it is right now.
Today's update, and it's not an update, it's just kind of, some things just sort of slap you in the face, reality just setting in. And reality is they've got to make a change now, because if they don't, how can they possibly recruit? How would that work? How would a kid choose Auburn over any other Power 5 option based on where Harsin and his staff sit? It's obvious if he does survive, he could get fired next fall for saying the wrong thing at the first scrimmage. I mean, they've got to make a change to rescue recruiting, period. So that's what they've boxed themselves into. And now it's just a matter of when they do this. I'd recommend they do it soon. Spring practice is starting in just 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah. And look, I don't even want to get into who the potential head coaches could be because they still have a head coach right now. But it's just so weird. You know what it reminds me of? We all had the girlfriend in college where, she was fun or whatever. And she, you always had a pretty good time, but then you always fought about something stupid. And then you really started fighting a lot and you're like, I got to break up. Well, then, you go over there and you have the makeup stuff and you keep going back. You got to cut the head off this thing, man. You can't just keep going back to the same girl or just stay in the same relationship that's already broken, because it will get worse. Every time you think, it can't get any worse than right now. Oh, it can get worse. It can definitely get worse. And it just like in a relationship, And just like this football team, the kids are the one who suffer.
You said you go back and you do all that makeup stuff. To borrow a line from Seinfeld, you yada 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 over the best part.
I did yada yada the best part. There's no doubt about it. But regardless, again, I know it's not. People are going to say this is not Bama related. I totally disagree. This is our arch rival. This is the best
huge.
year. It's the best year, Jimmy, in the state of Alabama. We're going to get to that in a second. That I can remember. I mean, they're 5 stars and high 4 stars galore in the state next year. And yeah, if Auburn's in a free fall, that's look, Alabama's probably going to do well anyway. But if Auburn's in a free fall, it's going to help even more, or it's going to help other teams that a kid that would normally go to Auburn if they didn't say have an Alabama offer or something, they may end up going to like a Clemson, like a TJ Dudley did this year, or a Caleb Story did this year, something like that. And these are the kind of things that set you back for a long time. And unlike basketball, it is very difficult to get this thing turned around very quickly.
It'll be interesting. This will be interesting, Luke. Who today? I mean, this is how bad that Auburn situation is, for them, and its effect on Alabama. Who would you say has the second best year recruiting in Alabama in 2023? With the 23 class, who's going to have the second best year? We know Alabama's going to have the best year. Auburn has handed that down. Alabama was going to have it anyway, but Auburn has handed that to Alabama on a silver platter. Now, who's going to have the second best year recruiting the talent in the state of Alabama? Today, I would argue that I'm not sure who it is, but it's not Auburn, or it's not definitely Auburn. It might be, just to throw them out there.
You just throw them out of the way of the camera, by the way. You were on a great rant, and then you just put your thumb there for no reason.
Yeah, that was giving myself a thumbs up for the rant.
I mean, the camera was fine. Everything was good.
Yep. My thumb got tired. I've got to get when I'm pulled over on the side of the road to do the podcast, I've got to get some sort of selfie stick I can attach to the steering wheel.
This should be locked on unprofessionalism.
Locked on amateur hour.
It's so funny because I watch a couple other pods trying to get ideas, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good idea. I wish we could do that. It's not like we should do that. I'm like, I wish we could do that.
I wish we knew how to do. I wish we knew how to do that. Yeah.
I'm going to try and get with Zach later this week and improve some things. But for right now, I need to tell everybody about Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the playoffs, right to the big game this coming up Sunday. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. It's awesome. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of the new amazing offers available in 2022, which is this current year, the year of our Lord, 2022. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, got to tell you about Rock Auto, too. All the parts your car will ever need, Rock Auto. You know how it is. This episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. With ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain parts store to stock all these parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? Hell, you don't know. You've got to go to the back of your car and see if it's got an LX or an EX on there, don't you? And you got to wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their little, Tandy 3000 computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry. You don't want to deal with that. You have computers. You have access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket on your phone. Look, you can save time and money when using Rock Auto. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years, and Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, even new carpet. We encourage all of our listeners to discover your own car part needs, discover how Rock Auto can help, and then share that experience with us, your favorite podcasters, Luke and Jimmy, right here. on Locked On Bama. That's for rockauto.com. All the parts your car will ever need, Rock Auto. Okay, Jimmy, let's talk a little recruiting. Bama Online came out with something because it is sort of the silly season, and they came out with something. Let's go ahead and predict the 2023 class for Alabama. It's way early. We all know this. And then, of course, I saw on your site, which is On3, Alabama's push for number one class in 2023 starts at home. So here are some guys. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Bama Online predicted we'd get all these guys too. I'm just going to run down some names. And look, we all know about Peter Woods. Everybody loves Peter Woods over at Thompson High School. He's a certified badass. We all know this. He's number 19 prospect in the country on your site. But, I think you can make the argument James Smith may be better, right?
Here's my thoughts on it. I think, we're going to rank James Smith probably a little higher at On3. And I don't disagree with that because those guys are really good at it. I'll just say that between the two, I prefer Peter Woods. And this is why. It might be a silly reason to some people, but Peter Woods loves Alabama. I mean, he's a Gump. It's pretty rare that you sign a Gump player as highly rated as he is. Some of the guys that are just big Alabama fans are like not necessarily 5 stars or top 20 players in the whole country. I think Peter Woods, he wants to play for Alabama. That's what I believe. I think he's a Gump, and I think you kind of get more out of those kids sometimes. James Smith, who I would project today, is likely to sign with Alabama. I'm less certain. I think he could end up at Georgia. I think he's more of a, hey, I'm going to the best place for me, wherever that is. And I respect that, and I like that. I'm just saying you might get more out of Peter Woods because he loves it. He's probably, a guy that's going to go to Alabama and then go to the softball games and the volleyball games. I mean, he just loves Alabama stuff.
For whatever reason, the air conditioner just cut on in this hotel room I'm in, so I'm about to be frozen. I mean, it's literally like 15 degrees outside. It's colder here than it was when I was in Colorado just a few days ago, but whatever.
Wow.
I don't want to talk about Tony Mitchell so much. I feel like we're going to talk about him so much in the coming year. Then there's A.J. Harris, who a lot of people think may wind up at Georgia or Clemson. But what do you think? Do you think A.J. Harris ends up in Alabama?
I actually don't. Today, he would not be in my class projection. What I don't know is exactly why, but he's the rarity. He is an in-state top prospect that is sort of the opposite of Peter Woods. He's not a Gump. He's a non-Gump. Did Forrest have an enemy in the movie? I guess
he's Lieutenant Dan.
Jenny's dad. He's Jenny's dad.
He's the principal that wanted to get with Gump's mama. Sally V.
That's him. So no, I don't think A.J. Harris is going to be at Alabama today, but it also wouldn't shock me if there's a sudden change of heart there too. Recruiting the 2023 class is still in its infancy. Kids are still developing relationships with their coaches who are recruiting them. But no, today, if I was doing a projection for On30, A.J. Harris would not be in it for Alabama, but he is a very, very good prospect. And I suspect Georgia, Clemson, or even Ohio State for him right now.
Tamarion Parker from Central Phoenix City is another guy that a lot of people like. I saw some crystal balls for him to Georgia. I thought that was a little odd.
Right. He went on an unofficial visit to Georgia and loved it. Came back raving, and some lobbed the crystal balls. We call it the RPM machine at On3, and he picked up a lot of, hey, he's going to Georgia. But since that time, Luke, he has visited Tuscaloosa since then. Came out of the Tuscaloosa visit raving about Alabama. So I think this kid just has a good time wherever he goes. That is very easy to imagine. That sounds like something I would do. But in the end, right now, again, projecting a class today, which thankfully I don't have to do because it's just too hard. But today I would probably put Tamarion Parker to Alabama.
You say On 3 has the recruiting machine. Did y'all make that from recycled parts of the George Michael sports machine from back in the day? You remember that?
Yeah. Well, we found it in a dumpster behind the Merv Griffin show.
Oh man,
Lots of Seinfeld today.
Lots
of Seinfeld today.
Yeah, there are a lot of Seinfeld references here today. All right, Jimmy, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some basketball stuff. Once again, the awkward pause, which is there for the podcast, not for the video. It's just you looking at us weirdly for about a second and a half. That feels like 10 minutes. Basketball-wise, Jimmy, we talked about it a little bit. We play Ole Miss on Wednesday, and they did lose Deshaun Ruffin. Ole Miss is not a terrible basketball team. They're not a super good basketball team. I found it kind of interesting that Alabama and Greg Byrne kept referencing Ole Miss's facility as one that they really patterned the new drawing of for the facility we're going to build for basketball. So that says a lot about Ole Miss. But regardless, that is going to Ole Miss. Boy, I need to look it up, and I may look it up while I let you talk. I don't know what our record is at Ole Miss, but I feel like it's not that good. Even when we won the SEC, I want to say it was in 2002. Isn't that when we won the SEC in 2002?
Exactly right. That was the Mark Gottfried SEC championship team. Yeah.
I think we lost by 30 to Ole Miss at Ole Miss that year. And I can look that up too. But I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to let you rant about the team for a minute. And I'm going to try and find this Ole Miss record. Because we do know crap on the show. That should be noted.
That should be noted. I like that. As you said, there have been really, really good Alabama basketball teams that have accomplished a lot that have lost to Ole Miss and Oxford. It would not be a new thing for Alabama to struggle in Oxford. And Ole Miss is a good team. They're not great. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament. They're not real good, but they're dangerous. They're good enough to beat anybody in this league not named Auburn or Kentucky. They're good enough to beat anybody, including us. They have an excellent coach in Kermit Davis, former Alabama assistant. I think Alabama's going to win. I really do. I'm going to predict an Alabama road win, and I think Alabama's going to play very hard, and that's why they'll win the game. I still think we're a couple of weeks away from playing hard and playing great, but I do think just playing hard can get us a win at Ole Miss, and it would be a big win. It would stop the bleeding, bring about some good feelings before a crucial 2-game home stretch against two teams likely to make the NCAA tournament, two really good teams. So I think Alabama needs this win really for some confidence. But no, Alabama has struggled in Oxford in the past, even with damn good teams.
I still maintain that Alabama's catching Arkansas at a great time Saturday. They're camping out in Arkansas for the Auburn game. So they're going to be coming off a bit of a lull coming into Tuscaloosa. Now they play on Tuesday night, which is, as you're watching this, tonight. So they'll have an extra day's rest. But I think that's a good thing for Alabama. And look, first of all, I was right. In 2002, we played Ole Miss at Ole Miss. It was the last game of the year, regular season, and we lost 84-56. Oh,
jeez,
that's a blowout. Now, what I didn't know, Jimmy, I'm going to blow your mind. Alabama has beaten Ole Miss 4 in a row. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
We've won 6 out of the last 7. I didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
Now, only one of those wins, oddly, was in Oxford. We beat the ever-living daylights out of them in 1920. We beat them 103-78. I remember we really went off shooting that night. And then we beat them 82-64 in 2020 as well. That was last year, but now this was the 1920 season is what I'm talking about. 19/20, not 1920 actually. We did beat them in Nashville. We didn't play them twice last year. That's weird. So anyway, we have been beating up on Ole Miss a little bit. I did not know that that we had a 4-game winning streak. Now, according to this Ole Miss site that I'm looking at, when I Googled, this is the first thing that came up. What do you think the all-time record is between Alabama and Ole Miss.
Now, I will miss this by a million miles because I would have to sit here and calculate how many games I think we've played them. But I'm going to say something like Alabama is up something like 68-32.
Your mind is going to be blown.
Obviously.
Blown. Alabama leads the series 26-20, according to this website.
We've only played them 46 times.
That is insane to me how that can possibly be. It says here that Ole Miss their home record against Alabama is 16-5. Their away record against Alabama is 3-17. And that's bananas. Now, I don't know if I don't guess it has in here the.
Hell, I was assuming we played them about twice a year, usually twice a year, going back to the 40s is what I assume. Shows what I know, but hell, that's crazy.
Yeah, this can't be right. This can't be right. They're missing a bunch of shit in here, Jimmy, because I'm looking at this website. Listen, there's a game that's played January 4th, 1958. And then it says the next time we played them was January 29th of 2000. They're missing like a gazillion games in here.
Yeah, I remember playing them in the 90s. I mean, I remember those teams and that coach they had, Ed somebody. Yeah, I remember those teams. No, we played
Ed
them
Murphy. And his son, and his lovely son, Sean, who was a 7-footer, if you remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And now we've signed a linebacker from Virginia named Sean Murphy. And the doctor on The Good Doctor, his name is Sean Murphy.
Okay. Forget what I said earlier.
Blow your mind.
I'm about to blow your mind again. Forget what I said earlier. That was total BS. And I should have caught that guffaw a little bit earlier. But is that what you say, a guffaw?
Yeah, you can say guffaw. Feel free.
Alabama and Ole Miss have played 131 times, not 46.
131. You're a little off.
And Alabama leads the series 88-43, which makes a hell of a lot more sense.
88-43, and I said 68-32.
Yeah.
So I was somewhat in the ballpark.
Well, I actually blew your mind the other way.
Yeah. It blew my mind that I was somewhat close, but I knew that I was like, did we stop playing each other over some disagreement over meal money or shit? You know, that's why teams stopped playing each other in football time and time again. Well, we couldn't agree over meal money. What the?
I mean, there have been some catastrophic dumb things that we've looked up on this, but I literally was looking that up live. That's, again, we do no prep. And And I was like, wow, that is wild. I can't believe it feels like we played them 46 times in the last 4 years. And
would someone think I did a lot of show prep in this Walgreens parking lot?
And Jimmy's pulled over. I just rolled into my hotel where somebody was trying to sneak in under the surname Jones.
Yeah, before the show started, I walked in Walgreens and asked the girl working the counter, how many times has Alabama played Ole Miss in basketball?
Did she say it's going to blow your mind?
She said 9 times.
9 times. Now, pay for your erectile dysfunction pills and get out of here.
No, you don't have to pay for those.
All right.
Medicaid.
Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about it, Alabama Ole Miss. I will do some show prep for the show tomorrow. So sorry.
I'm going to do a deep dive into the season stats. So everybody listen to this show. If you go to On 3, I'm going to, and it's fun. It's not just fun. You can really discern a lot about what's going on the team and why we're not playing good. I'm going to rank the roster, and maybe we'll discuss it tomorrow on the show. Just like, okay, who's our best player? Who's our second best player? Using this season only, not a projection in the future, not what happened in their career, but in this season, who is our best player? Who's our second best player? All the way down to 12, because we only have 12 players with Burnett missing the season. And we hadn't talked about that, Luke. We've never talked about that. But considering that the biggest problem we have offensively is shooting the ball, goodness, have we missed Namari Burnett. I mean, we have really missed him. He might be the best shooter in the program, but oh well, he's hurt.
All right, buddy, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll be back tomorrow. Y'all keep tuning in. Go to the YouTube page, subscribe, share, get some more views, try and do all that. We're working hard for y'all to help us out.
Yeah.
All right. We're doing no prep, but we're working hard. So, all right, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.